Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We go back to September 10th, 1945 for an episode of the Signal Oil Company program, The Whistler. This episode, entitled Phone Call from Death.
Signal gasoline. Signal, the new gasoline you can prove is superior. The Signal Oil Company and your neighborhood Signal dealer bring you another curious story by The Whistler. Tonight, Phone Call from Death. I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. You know the old saying. But have you ever thought how that thought must rankle in the minds of women to whom it is applied? Ellen Livesey, for instance. Ellen always seemed to lose out with the men she set her cap for. And who can say what emotion plagued her now that she could no longer be called a young woman? She didn't show it, of course, even when men came to her about their troubles with other women, like Glenn Reed.
It's maddening, Ellen. What am I going to do about her?
There's nothing much anyone can do when a girl falls in love.
Don't say that. She's not in love with Paul Carroll. She can't be.
Glenn, pull yourself together.
I'm sorry.
I know what Sheila means to you, but you can't deny reality, Glenn. The fact is, Sheila's met someone else, and there isn't anything you can do about it.
2 months ago, she was going to marry me.
I didn't know that.
Well, not a definite promise, but until Carroll came along... What has she told you about him?
Glenn, you can hardly expect me to tell you
You've
what...
got to tell me, Ellen. I've got to know.
I don't think I have to violate a confidence for anyone.
But you said she's in love with him. How do you know? Did she tell you?
Yes, she told me.
I don't believe it.
Really, Glenn, if you're going to behave this way...
I know I'm a fool. But, Ellen, if you knew what all this is doing to me...
I think I know. Ever since Sheila met Paul Carroll, she's been infatuated with him. And I can understand why.
But why can't she see her money's made a hit with him, too?
Oh, Glenn, lack of money doesn't mean anything to Sheila. I've certainly never been wealthy. Why, the jobs I've had. Dime store clerk, telephone operator, stenographer, and now secretary. Yet Sheila and I have always been close friends. Very close.
Ellen, I'd do anything. Humiliate myself, anything, if she'd only let me talk to her.
You want me to call her for you, Glenn?
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't want you to do that.
Yes, you would. When you called me this afternoon, I knew that's what you wanted me to do. I'll call her right now.
Well, all right, if it isn't too much trouble.
You know it isn't. Oh, that's a silly thing to do. I started to dial the wrong number. Well, good heavens. Hello? Why, Sheila, what a coincidence. I was just trying to get you... Sheila, what is it?
What's the matter, Ellen?
Sheila, I can't understand you. Sheila! Sheila!
Ellen, what's wrong? What's happened?
I don't know exactly. She seemed terrified. Something about someone trying to break into her apartment. And then her voice seemed smothered, and we were cut off.
Oh, good Lord, we'd better get over there.
Well, I'll call the police. Maybe they can get there quicker. Oh, I hope I'm mistaken, Glenn. Sheila simply has to be all right.
Well, we'll soon find out.
Oh, Glenn, wait.
What?
Down the hall, the patrolman.
Standing guard outside Sheila's door.
Oh, Glenn, do you think...
Come on.
Well,
We'll let you up. We're friends of Miss Blaine, officer. We're going inside.
Oh, are you? Well, I don't know how you got by downstairs.
Nobody tried to stop us, officer. We simply came right up.
Why can't we see Miss Blaine? What's happened?
Just a minute now, just a minute.
What's going on in there? What's wrong?
I said hold your horses, young fella.
Woodson, get downstairs and Who are these people?
Well, sir, that's what I was just
My
about...
name's Ellen Livesey. I called police headquarters about Miss Blaine.
Oh, yes, Miss Livesey. I'm Captain Hazlitt of the Homicide Division.
Homicide? Captain, what's happened?
Sheila Blaine has 2 bullets in the back of her head. She's dead.
September 10th, 1945, the prologue of The Whistler and the phone call from death on this classic radio theater with Wyatt Cox. Hang on.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our health care. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining MediShare right now. MediShare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly health care costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. MediShare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 29 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Mike Lindell and MyPillow offering the BOGO extravaganza right now on a whole slew of MyPillow products. Now you can find all sorts of great deals on MyPillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance MyPillow, 6-piece towel sets, Roll and Go Anywhere pillows, much more, all priced buy one, get one free. Go to mypillow.com/USA, use promo code USA, or call 1-800-951-8175 and find you some great MyPillow products. They're all available. Oh, by the way, you can also get Mike's book absolutely free with any purchase, but you have to go to mypillow.com/USA or call 1-800-951-8175 and make sure you use the promo code, the buy one, get one extravaganza, going on right now at mypillow.com.
Veterinary telemedicine is booming. Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Teller, president of the American Veterinary Medical Association, and I know firsthand that telehealth is a valuable tool to help provide our precious pets with the health care they need and deserve. Here are some situations where telemedicine may be an option for you and your pet. If the veterinarian has seen your pet in person in the past. If you're not sure you need to schedule an in-person visit. If your pet had surgery and needs post-operative follow-up. For skin diseases and rash rechecks. When your veterinarian needs to monitor your pet's chronic problems such as diabetes or allergies. If there are behavioral issues or training challenges. Or for hospice care. It's always good to have your session in a quiet place with good lighting. If you're not sure if you should set up a telehealth session, call your veterinarian and they'll let you know. To learn more, check out avma.org/telehealth. avma.org/telehealth.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of The Whistler and the phone call from death, September 10th, 1945.
Well, Ellen Livesey, this time it looks as if you won't have even to be a bridesmaid. Your best friend, Sheila Blaine, is dead. What kind of emotion does that call up in you? Are you properly heartbroken? Or is there a faint smile of triumph in your face? The following morning, when Captain Hazlitt called you, Glenn Reed, and Paul Carroll to his office at police headquarters...
Yeah? I'll tell you frankly, we haven't developed a single lead on Miss Blaine's murder since last night. You three seem to have been her closest friends, though, so if there's anything you can tell me...
What do you want to know, Captain?
Well, you've already told me how Miss Blaine called you. By the way, I'd like to thank you for calling headquarters so promptly.
Oh, I thought it was the thing to do, Captain.
As I understand it, you knew Miss Blaine intimately.
Yes, we've been friends since we were in school.
Had her life ever been threatened before?
There was no reason for anybody to threaten her, Captain.
Ah. You were with Miss Livesey when Miss Blaine called.
That's right, at 7:30.
And you, Mr. Carroll, you were at a movie at that time.
Well, from what I've heard, I must have been inside the Regal Theater when it happened.
Miss Blaine made her phone call at 7:30. Apparently, she was killed immediately after that. What time did you get home?
Just after 11. One of your men was waiting for me.
What time did you enter the theater?
Just after 7.
Wasn't that a little early for you to attend a movie?
I don't see why. I hadn't anything to do last evening. Decided to drop in as I was passing by.
Can you prove you were there?
Hey, look here, if you're implying I had anything to do with this,
Someone's been murdered, Mr. Carroll. It's my job to try to find out who did it. I have to start with those who might have done it.
And you mean to say I'm one of them?
Why not?
Well, what motive would I have?
Motives are usually and can easily be found.
Does that mean Miss Livesey and Reed are under suspicion, too?
Everyone's under suspicion, Mr. Carroll. We suspect everyone at this stage of the game.
I went to the Regal Theater last night, Hazlitt. I was there from 7 until 10:30.
We can check it anyway. How long had you known Miss Blaine?
6 weeks.
You were, quite friendly?
We were going to be married.
You're a liar.
Just a minute, Mr. Reed.
He's lying. They weren't going to get married.
Glenn, please control yourself.
Oh, we just have his word for it. Sheila never told anyone.
Get hold of yourself, Reed. I take it you were, on friendly terms with Miss Blaine, too.
I was in love with her.
And Carroll says he was going to marry her.
I told you he was lying.
You're talking pretty carelessly, Reed. I'd watch myself if I were you.
What are you doing, warning me?
I'm telling you to use a little common sense. Because if you don't,
I'll get what Sheila got. Huh?
Why, you dirty little down. Take it easy. You're both under a strain, but so is Miss Livesey.
I'm ready to tell you whatever I can, Captain.
No, thanks. I suggest you all go home now.
But I thought you had questions to ask us.
I'll do that later. One at a time.
Then we're free to go now?
Yes.
What about Sheila's murder? Is this all you intend to do about it?
We'll go on checking into it, Mr. Reed.
But she's dead. Don't you understand that? Somebody's killed her. Somebody's got to pay for that.
We'll go on checking, Mr. Reed.
Haven't you any ideas or theories at all?
Right now, I'd say the coroner's jury will have to hand in a verdict of homicide by person or persons unknown. We get those cases every so often. Sneak thieves, intruders, surprised by their victims. Kill, get away.
Sheila wasn't killed by any sneak thief.
How do you know?
Well, I don't know for sure, but it couldn't have been that.
Go home and get some sleep, Mr. Reed. I'll call you if I want you. Thanks for your cooperation, everyone.
Thank you, Captain. Paul,
Yes, Helen.
will you be good enough to take me home now?
It's all quite a mystery, isn't it, Ellen? The police get nowhere, and soon it's almost forgotten. Yes, even you almost forget it. Because of a new anxiety, a new emotion. Your anger because you haven't seen Paul Carroll since that day he drove you home from the police station. With Sheila out of the way, you thought he'd be around much sooner, didn't you? You thought you could wait. But every day you're away from him. Well, he's very much in your mind the afternoon you face Wilson Andrews in his office. Wilson Andrews, Sheila's attorney.
Before Miss Blaine's will is admitted to probate, Miss Livesey, I'd like you to read it, or if you prefer, I'll read it to you to give you the gist of its contents.
Mr. Andrews, are you telling me I'm one of Sheila's heirs?
Her only heir, my dear.
Oh, no, that isn't possible.
Surely you don't object
Oh,
to...
but I couldn't take her money.
My dear Miss Livesey, she wanted you to inherit her estate. And surely you can use $30,000.
Well, I don't know what to say.
And she was quite fond of you, Miss Livesey. I'll always remember her great glee in describing how surprised you'd be.
Yes, I can imagine.
If there are any questions you wish to ask, why...
I think not, Mr. Andrews.
Very well.
Oh, yes, there's one question. When will I come into the estate?
Almost immediately, I'd say. I hope this bequest will bring you much happiness, Miss Livesey.
Happiness? Well, yes, perhaps it will. Perhaps it will.
Well, this is a surprise, isn't it, Ellen? Sheila's death has brought you a double benefit. Now you're thinking more than ever of Paul. And now that you've become moderately wealthy, why shouldn't you put your money to good use? The clothes you've never had, a new, bigger apartment. A chance to make Paul Carroll notice you. But instead of Paul, across the luncheon table from you, you find Glenn Reed.
You're looking awfully attractive, Ellen. New hat?
Knew everything. I felt guilty about it all until it was all the time I was splurging. Yet I knew it was exactly what Sheila would have wanted me to do. Why did you invite me to lunch, Glenn?
I had to talk to someone. The police still haven't made any arrests. They won't arrest anyone the way they're going about it. It wasn't any sneak thief who killed Sheila.
What makes you so sure of that?
It couldn't have been. It had to be somebody else.
That isn't enough to go on, Glenn. You'll need evidence of some kind to make the police change their mind.
I don't have any evidence, but I have a pretty good hunch.
You mean you suspect somebody?
Paul Carroll.
Oh, now, Glenn, that's ridiculous.
Is it?
You know Paul can't be guilty. He was at a movie when it happened. The police even found an usher who remembered
But
him.
that doesn't mean anything. He could have sneaked out a side exit soon after he went inside. Nobody remembered seeing him come out.
But what motive could he have? Why would he want to do it?
Because he found out he wasn't named in Sheila's will. He was counting on her money. Then he found out how she really felt, so he killed her.
Glenn, by the same token, I'd have a motive for killing her because I knew I'd inherit her money.
But you didn't know you were named as her heir.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Besides, we know neither of us killed her. Carol's the only one who had both the motive and the opportunity.
Glenn, he was at that theater.
So he says.
Well, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to the police?
I don't know yet. All I know is I won't let Sheila go unavenged. I'm going to find out who killed her. And when I do...
Please don't do anything rash. Now, promise me you won't do anything you might regret later. Promise me, Glenn.
I'm not promising anything. Oh, don't tell anybody what I've just said. I'll take care of this in my own way.
Well, Ellen, this might be dangerous to your plans. Suppose Glenn does do something to Paul Carroll, the man you love. But wait, Ellen. Suppose Paul did kill Sheila. You wouldn't want the murder of your best friend to go unavenged, would you? Or would you? Love is a very strong emotion, even when it's one-sided. You haven't seen Paul for weeks. He hasn't called you up at all. Never mind. Now you have an excuse, Ellen. An excellent excuse for seeing him.
Do you like my hat, Paul?
Oh, yes. Very nice.
It's the very first time I've worn it.
Oh, is it?
You've never noticed anything I've worn, have you, Paul?
What? What makes you say that?
Oh, no reason.
Why did you want to see me, Ellen?
Oh, because we both loved Sheila. And because I haven't seen you since it happened.
Well, I meant to call you and congratulate you on inheriting her estate, but somehow I didn't get around to it.
Shall I consider myself congratulated now?
If you like.
You've changed, Paul. You're not the same at all.
Maybe I've good reason for it.
Were you so much in love with her?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
Well, you knew Sheila as well as anyone. You know what she was like.
She was beautiful and capricious, unpredictable, provoking.
You found that out in 15 years. I knew her for 6 weeks. During that time, there were hours when I adored her, and moments when I could have killed her. Not a very good choice of words, is it?
I know what you mean, Paul.
Now she's gone. My world's pretty much upside down. And yet if she'd lived, I don't know how long we'd have lasted together.
Were you really going to get married?
Well, I'd have persuaded her to. Then we'd probably have split up in no time, and I'd have been just as broke as I am now.
But you don't sound as if you were really in love, Paul.
I'm not trying to kid anybody, Ellen. I'm just telling you how I felt.
Glenn Reed doesn't think you were in love with Sheila.
Yes, I gathered as much that day at police headquarters.
He thinks you killed her, Paul.
Well, that's insane. What's the matter with that idiot? Is he going around spreading that kind of gossip?
Oh, no, I don't think so. He told me about it yesterday, though. That's the real reason I wanted to see you. I thought I had to warn you.
Has he gone to the police?
Oh, he said the police wouldn't believe him.
You bet they wouldn't.
But please be careful, Paul. Please don't take any chances.
Don't worry. I'll talk to him. Get him straightened out.
Oh, no, please don't go near him. No, that might only stir up trouble. And if anything happened to you, Paul... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to betray myself. I mean... Oh, it's shameless of me to talk like this. But I'm free to tell you now. I'm in love with you. And if anything
Ellen,
happened...
don't.
If anything at all happened to you... I could never tell you before. Sheila was my dearest friend. But just like Sheila, the first time I saw you, I fell in love with you, too. Now you know. Oh, I'm a fool for telling you this way. But I don't care. I have money now, Paul. We can share it together. I'm not ashamed of myself. I'm proud. I want to stand up here and tell everyone.
Ellen, I think we'd better go.
Oh, Paul, please. Please let me finish.
It wouldn't do any good, Ellen.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say.
There's nothing else to say, Paul. Shall we go?
Unrequited love, Ellen. Yes, you can go on hoping, but deep down inside you know he meant it. He'll never love you. The anguish and torment of that thought gives you many a sleepless night. You go on hoping, but as the days go by, you need more than hope. You must see him, hear his voice. Well, then forget your pride, Ellen. You did once before.
Hello? Oh, hello, Paul. I want to apologize for my stupid behavior last Wednesday. I wanted to call you before, but I couldn't muster enough courage until now. Oh, no, there wasn't anything else you could say. Well, that's awfully sweet of you. Can't we make amends? Or perhaps if we had dinner together some evening? Oh, I see. Yes, of course. Well, if you'll call me when you get back. Yes, Paul, yes. Goodbye. When you get back. When you get back. Hello, operator, we were cut off. No, it's all right now. Oh, hello, Paul. Someone must have cut in. I just thought I'd call and see how... Oh, I see. Well, I thought now that you're back, you... All right, Paul. Yes, I understand. Goodbye. Too busy. Oh, Paul. I hate you, Paul Carroll. I hate you!
You never thought you'd say those words, did you, Ellen? You didn't remember that love is an emotion very close to hate. But now you know. Paul Carroll doesn't love you, never will love you. He's avoiding you. He's too busy. You hate him now, don't you, Ellen? You're going to take that hate out in action, something drastic, aren't you?
Hello, Glenn Reed? Oh, hello, Glenn. This is Ellen. Yes, I know. I haven't seen you for ages. Could I see you tonight, Glenn? It's really important. About Paul Carroll. No, I can't tell you now. Can you come to my apartment tonight? Oh, say 8 o'clock. All right, I'll be expecting you.
And the conclusion of The Whistler, September 10th, 1945, when Classic Radio with Wyatt Cox continues in just a moment on your favorite station.
Ladies and gentlemen, make tomorrow your D-Day. Get an extra bond for defense. Step into any bank or post office and buy yourself a profitable share in America's future. As an investment, bonds are better than ever. They can help you save safely, conveniently, and profitably. So whether you already buy on the payroll savings plan where you work or the bond-a-month plan where you bank, get an extra bond for defense tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, make tomorrow your D-Day. Get an extra bond for defense. Step into any bank or post office and buy yourself a profitable share in America's future. As an investment, bonds are better than ever. They can help you save safely, conveniently, and profitably. So whether you already buy on the payroll savings plan where you work or the bond-a-month plan where you bank, get an extra bond for defense tomorrow.
The word research has become pretty familiar to all of us in the last 10 years or so. But have you ever stopped to think what research, especially medical research, means to you personally? Without research, we would have no penicillin or any of the other wonder drugs. Research is also the most important weapon in the fight against mental illness. And mental illness today afflicts more than 9 million people. Already, research has opened up leads for preventing many mental illnesses, and research has shown us speedier and more effective ways of helping mentally sick people to get well. Research scientists say we can be hopeful, but they need help from us. They need money to carry on research. If we help science, science can give us a much better chance to escape mental illness and to cure mental illness if it should strike. If you'd like to help, give to the Mental Health Fund in care of your local postmaster. Just address Mental Health Fund in care of your local postmaster. Don't wait. This worthwhile cause needs your support now.
Before taking our usual trip to the green room, let's discuss 3 ways we can all help lengthen the war. Here they are. First, throw away all your extra equipment. Second, don't take care of the equipment and ordnance you have left. Third, waste your field rations. Only eat the parts you like. Well, that's only 3 ways. But if each and every man and woman in the service indulged in just those 3 consistently, V-Day would be a far cry indeed. Of course, no one would act like that on purpose, but unfortunately, we all tend to treat GI materiel a little bit like a stepsister. And when you multiply your callousness and wastage 1 million or more times, it's no longer funny. So let's not help lengthen the war. Let's shorten it by conserving everything we have.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Whistler, September 10th, 1945.
Yes, you're going to do something drastic, aren't you, Ellen? So you work fast, and you're ready when Glenn arrives at 8.
Why, hello, Glenn. Do come in.
Thanks.
You haven't seen my new apartment before, have you?
No, I haven't. It's pretty swank. Said you had something to tell me about Paul Carroll, Ellen. What is it?
Well, please sit down first. You make me uncomfortable
I think
standing
I'll
that
stand.
way.
What's happened?
Well, it's a little hard to tell. Especially after I wouldn't believe you.
My suspicions about Carroll, you mean?
Yes. I saw Paul several weeks ago, just before he went out of town. He acted rather strangely at that time. Then I talked to him on the phone today, and... well, now I'm inclined to think you're right. Something he said aroused my suspicions.
What was that?
Well, we were chatting casually, something about radio shows, when Paul mentioned a certain program. And he suddenly changed the subject. Later, I realized why. He talked about a program that was on the air while he was supposed to be at the theater the night Sheila was murdered.
Are you sure of that, Ellen?
I wouldn't have called you if I weren't. First, I thought of calling the police, but then I could see the evidence would seem so flimsy to Captain Haslett.
Yes, you're right.
If we could see Paul alone, just the 2 of us with him, and trick him into confessing.
How?
Well, I could invite him to the apartment tonight. I'd tell him you're here, and then when he
That
arrives...
wouldn't do any good, Ellen.
I think it would. I'll give him a ring.
I wouldn't do that, Ellen.
Nonsense. We both want to avenge Sheila's death, don't we?
But if you'll only listen to me...
Oh, always making that mistake. I keep dialing Sheila's old number. Oh, good heavens, that startled me. Hello? Oh, well, hello, Paul. I was just about to call you. Yes, I wanted to invite you over. Oh, don't say you can't come. Well, I suppose I could. Mm-hmm. All right, Paul. Yes, I'll be there. Goodbye. Well, that wasn't hard. He won't come here, but he'll be glad to see me at his place. He won't expect to see you with me, so we may be able to surprise him.
I don't think so, Ellen.
Why not?
We're not going to visit Carroll.
I thought we'd agreed.
Let me have the phone, Ellen.
Well, Glenn, what in the world?
Let me have it.
Really, Glenn? Very well. What in the world are you... Glenn, I demand an explanation.
Why don't you answer it? Oh, there's no use stalling, Ellen. I watched you dial. You see, you didn't dial Sheila's old number. You faked that call to Carroll.
That's absurd. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't you? Well, listen. There's nobody on the line, you see. Because the 4 numbers I just dialed make your own phone ring. You didn't talk to Paul Carroll just now.
Really, Glenn, I'm not going to sit here and let you
couldn't
kill...
have talked to Carroll. I know that, Ellen. You see, I've already killed him.
The unexpected can be a physical blow, can't it, Ellen? Almost like the promise of death itself. Glenn's words completely upset your elaborate little scheme. You stand in horror as it crumbles about you.
Glenn, you can't be serious. I can't believe it.
Oh, yes. I've been following him for weeks because I thought he'd killed Sheila. I saw the two of you in that restaurant several weeks ago, and I saw you go into his apartment earlier this evening.
Oh, no, you couldn't.
I went in after you left. He was sitting in his chair, his back to me. Crept up behind him, a heavy metal lamp from an end table in my hand, and then Well, no one saw me go in or out of his flight.
Oh, Glenn, you fool. You
I
fool.
came here to tell you about it before giving myself up, but then you faked that call from him. Puzzled me at first, but not now, Ellen. Ellen, you faked that call from Sheila, too. You killed Sheila.
Oh, Glenn, listen to me. Let me explain.
Answer me. I know you killed her, but why? How could you do it?
Because she'd always had everything I didn't have. Money, beauty, popularity. And then Paul came along, and she got him, too. I couldn't let her take him, so Yes, I killed her. And then I made my own phone ring while you were with me. I learned how when I was an operator.
So you killed Sheila, your friend, knowing all the time I talked to you about her that night that she was already dead. If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have killed Carol.
But Glenn, let me tell you. You didn't kill him. He was already dead.
You killed him, too?
Don't come near me. I shot him, and I made it look like suicide, as if he killed Sheila. We'd both have been avenged if you hadn't meddled. You meddled. We'd have gotten away with it.
You won't get away with anything again, Ellen.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you doing?
I told you if I ever found Sheila's murderer, I'd avenge her.
Glenn! No! Glenn!
September 10th, 1945, The Whistler on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now, with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer.
800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. 800-772-6113. That's 800-772-6113.
You know, for years you've heard me talking about My Pillow here on Classic Radio Theater. And the My Pillow and Mike Lindell have right now a huge buy one, get one free extravaganza. And what are the things they include? They include several different varieties of My Pillow. The Giza Elegance My Pillows are buy one, get one. Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows. I, by the way, have one by my recliner. It is delightful, and many times I don't intend to doze off, but I do. Also, the 6-piece towel sets and bed sheet sets, those are all available. Buy one, get one. Now, they've set us up our own page over at mypillow.com. You go to mypillow.com/USA. That's mypillow.com/USA, and you will find links to all the current buy one, get one specials. Plus, with everything you buy now, you get Mike's softcover book, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. It's a $20 value, but you have to use the promo code USA. You get the book free when you purchase anything. Dog beds, $19.99, as low as $19.99 with the promo code. And you know those dogs love the My Pillow dog beds. And the My Pillow slippers, pet blankets, complete mattress systems, 2-inch mattress toppers. Those are delightful. Go to mypillow.com/USA or call 1-800-951-8175. Use the promo code USA at checkout. mypillow.com/USA, promo code USA, and save you a great deal on a great night's sleep and other things when you go to mypillow.com/USA. We start a brand new yours truly Johnny Dollar story on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. This is the part 1 of the 5-part story, The Confidential Matter, from September 10th, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Mort Parkinson, Johnny, Eternity Mutual.
Oh, how are you, Mort?
I couldn't feel much worse.
It's the olives that do it, not the martinis.
I wish it were that simple. Can you come over to my office right away, Johnny?
Well, I guess so, if...
I don't often pull that confidential business, but I really would hesitate to go into this one on the phone.
Pretty rough, huh?
I'm afraid you're going to find it even worse than that. It's about Ed Morgan, Johnny.
Ed Morgan.
I'm sorry. I know he was a good friend of yours.
He's one of the best I ever had. Ed was a great guy. It's too bad he had to die that way.
Johnny, it's too bad he didn't die a year sooner.
What?
You'd better come on over to the office.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Home Office, Eternity Mutual Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the confidential matter. Item 1, $2.85. Taxi from my apartment to the Eternity Building in the 7th floor office of Mort Parkinson, Vice President and General Manager. It was a room I well remembered, with its black walnut paneling and deep leather chairs. I'd worked on a lot of cases with Mort, and with the late Ed Morgan, too. And it sounded now as though Ed, my good friend from a long time back, was about to become a case himself.
Come in, Johnny. Pull up a chair.
Thanks, Mort. Well, that was quite a phone call.
It's quite a situation.
Yeah, I gathered that.
No, I just can't talk sitting down. Old habit, I guess. Remember when we used to be over in the old Johnstone building before we built this new one? We had those old-fashioned stand-up desks. It was when old man Clement was still alive.
And before I was.
Oh, yes. I keep forgetting about you newcomers.
Meaning everybody who's come into the game within the last 40 years.
I suppose I am one of the original settlers. And set in my ways, too.
Yeah, well, what about
I sure hated to see those desks go. You could stand in front of them, lean an elbow on them, make out a report or a speech.
Mort, you're trying too hard to avoid it.
Avoid what?
You didn't call me over here just to reminisce about the old days.
In a way, maybe I did.
You know, it's funny. I always thought you liked Ed Morgan.
But I did.
And why did you say it's too bad he didn't die a year sooner?
Because I liked him. Except like is too weak a word, actually. I thought as much of Ed as I would have of my own son if I'd had one. Why, I'm the one who hired him in the first place. Remember, Johnny?
Yeah, I remember.
And I took a personal interest in his career. Watched him work his way up. Till finally he was appointed chief adjuster for the West Coast, head of our San Francisco claims office. That was darn good for a man as young as he was. And I was proud of him, Johnny.
Yeah, I know you were.
He was a hard worker, honest, dependable. And he had a good, sound future ahead of him. And then, just like that.
Accidents are usually just like that.
A foggy night, sharp curve, and he drove his car off a cliff into the Pacific Ocean. And that was that. Tragedy. Fini, the end.
Only it apparently wasn't the end, or you wouldn't have called me over here.
No, it wasn't, Johnny. I wish it had been.
Meaning?
You'd better brace yourself. Within 2 weeks after Ed Morgan's death, we started getting complaints from some of our clients.
What do you mean, complaints?
Oh, demands for adjustment on claims Ed had reported paid weeks before, requests for past due settlements, so on.
Mort, I don't get it.
Neither did I. So I sent a company accountant out to San Francisco on the QT and put him to work on the claims files. And we found out, Johnny.
You found out what?
That Ed's accounts had been doctored for some time.
What?
Johnny, in the months before he was killed, he'd embezzled nearly $80,000.
Ed Morgan?
Ed Morgan.
I don't believe it.
He did it. You might as well accept the fact.
Anybody else, yes, anybody else. But not Ed. For one thing, money didn't mean that much to him.
I know. We were always joshing him about living like an old hermit instead of a young bachelor.
Well, then why would he do it, steal $80,000 after all these years of being honest? What would he want that would cost that much money?
That's exactly what I wish you'd find out.
Now, wait a second, Mort, wait a second. This is one I don't want any part of.
Neither do I. But I'm afraid I'm stuck with it. And you are too, in a way.
Why?
Because Ed was your friend. Here's a flight ticket and reservation to San Francisco. Plane leaves in 2 hours.
No. I'd rather pass it, Mort.
Well, so would I. But we can't. Neither of us. There are too many questions left. And they've got to be answered.
Not by me.
$80,000 of the company's money is missing. I can't just write it off and forget it. It has to be accounted for.
There are other investigators, Mort.
And another thing that's just as important, to me at least, is to find out why he did it. It's a failure in human dynamics. A man like Ed, a man everybody respected and trusted, and he goes wrong. Why?
Get somebody else to find out.
I'd be pretty grateful if you'd do it, Johnny.
Mort, I just don't want any part of it.
I know how you feel. It's quite a shock to find out he was a crook. It's like somebody pulling the rug out from under you. So now you want to forget all about him. Leave him safely dead and buried.
Dead, Mort, but not buried. If you remember, they recovered the car, but not his body. It's still somewhere beneath the Pacific.
All right, then. Look at it from an efficiency standpoint, if nothing else. To any other investigator, Ed Morgan would be just a name, an unknown quantity. But you knew him.
I thought I did.
Regardless of what he did, Johnny, I just hate to think of a stranger pawing into his past. Maybe I still think back to the old times in the old country when the family buried their own dead.
I know.
And sometimes, Johnny, a friend has to go all the way. Even when the other person is goofed. Isn't that what the younger generation calls it?
I'm not the younger generation, Mort. Right now, I'm older than Confucius.
I'd sure appreciate it, Johnny. And after all, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. And like you said, Ed was my friend. All right, Mort. Let's have the ticket. Item 2, $14.35. Tips, taxi, and incidentals in Hartford and same in San Francisco. Plane trip between points paid from expense account of company manager and not included herewith. I went straight from the airport to Ed's last address when he was still alive, an apartment house in the Nob Hill section called the Drakeley Arms. And there's where I got my first surprise. Ed had always been the two-room bachelor walk-up type. But the Drakeley Arms consisted of equal parts of glitter, glass, swank, and price, including a uniformed doorman, a small private bar off the lobby, and an assistant manager with a gardenia on his lapel. Oh, he was a rare one, that manager. And it was a real gardenia.
I am, of course, most desirous of assisting you in every way possible, Mr. What did you say your name was?
Dollar. D-O-L-L.
I can spell dollar.
I'll bet you can.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, it's quite all right.
I didn't mean...
You didn't mean to be offensive, I understand. Now, about the former occupant of Suite 14.
Mr. Dollar, I'm terribly afraid...
Oh, please don't be.
I mean, there is simply very little I can tell you about the late Mr. Morgan.
A matter of discretion? Is that it?
Discretion?
Policy of the house? Something of that sort?
Well, we do, of course, try to protect the privacy of our residents. I'm sure you understand.
Even to the extent of turning down $20?
Well...
A crisp one, isn't it?
Under the circumstances...
Nice likeness of Andrew Jackson, isn't it?
Thank you, sir. Gratuities of this nature are always so helpful in smoothing the rough pathway of human relations. Don't you think so, Mr. Dollar?
Definitely. It's already helping you remember my name.
Well, money is a mental stimulant, isn't it?
Don't call it money. Just think of it as item 3.
I beg your pardon. Item...
Oh, that's quite all right.
I meant...
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a habit I seem to be picking up. Now, has your memory been stimulated any in regard to Ed Morgan?
Oh, yes, the late Mr. Morgan. Pardon me, Mr. Dollar. Yes? Oh, yes, Countess Margie. Yes, I'll be delighted to send the boy up for 2 quarts of suds.
Suds?
Would a nice dry Bavarian ale be... Yes, Countess, just plain beer. Yes, Countess, right away. Frightful old lady. Mixes it with creme de menthe, you know. Now, where were we, Mr. Dollar?
We weren't, not yet.
Oh, yes, the late Mr. Morgan. Well, he'd been our guest, you understand, for about 6 months at the time of his tragic accident.
What was he paying for his suite of rooms?
Oh, well, ordinarily we don't release information of that.
Forget it. This is not ordinary. How much?
$1,200 a month.
I see.
Oh, he was a true gentleman, if I may say so. A bon vivant. And on the crassly materialistic side, if you'll forgive me, sir, a very free spender.
Sorry, 20's the limit.
Mr. Dollar, I was not trying to coerce your generosity by,
Putting on another bite?
Precisely.
All right. So Ed was bedded down in a mink-lined stall and was throwing money around like water. What else? Who came to see him? What sort of visitors did he have?
None at all that I can recall.
None at all? He leased that overpriced cubicle and then just sat in it?
Well...
What about friends here in the building?
Well, most of our guests might be termed individually exclusive. Even eccentric in some cases. Except, of course, Mrs. Barrett.
Mrs. Barrett?
Yes. One of the loveliest guests we've ever had the pleasure of... Excuse me, Mr. Dollar. Yes. Yes, Countess Margie. The boy is on his way. I know, but he has to go clear down to the corner. Yes. Well, please tell little Pim Pam that I'm so sorry. A dog drinks that stuff, too. Now, where were we?
About this Mrs. Barrett you mentioned.
Oh, yes. Well, of course, she and Mr. Morgan were inseparable, you understand. They were together constantly.
And Mr. Barrett?
Oh, there wasn't any. Well, not recently, I mean. Deceased. You know, dead.
Yeah, when?
Early this year, as I recall. I didn't know him, of course. Mrs. Barrett moved in here shortly after his death. Not until then.
And Ed Morgan, when did he move in?
About 6 weeks later.
Oh, he met her here then?
Oh, no, they were already acquainted. Well acquainted.
I see.
In fact, I believe that Mr. Morgan and the young and very lovely widow met at the time of her husband's death. A matter of settling the estate or something of that sort.
It would figure all right.
I don't remember exactly why I thought so, but I do recall having an impression at the time that he moved in here only because of her. And as I say, they were together constantly right from the first.
That's all very interesting. I wonder if I could have a talk with this Mrs. Barrett.
That would be utterly impossible, I'm afraid.
Now, look, if you think you can
I
pry...
simply mean she isn't here.
Isn't here?
She's been gone for 10 days now.
Where'd she go?
I really haven't the slightest idea, Mr. Dollar.
Well, if she moved out, she must have left a forwarding address of some kind.
Oh, she didn't move out. She still has her apartment here. She'll be back eventually, I imagine.
But at the moment,
I haven't heard a word from her since she left. Oh, poor dear. You know, one can understand why she'd want to get away for a while. Such a tragic coincidence, having 2 deaths of exactly the same... Oh, confound that woman.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by tragic coincidence?
Oh, well, as I understand it, Mrs. Barrett's husband also died in some sort of accident. Yes, Countess.
Now, here is our star to tell you about tomorrow's episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, the trail back into a man's past is a faint and twisting one. And at times it runs through quicksand. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Les Crutchfield, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Hugh Brundage speaking.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a big coincidence there. September 10th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can find our podcast, podcast and social media links. You can also, if you're so inclined, buy me a coffee. That buy me a coffee money goes for us to acquire new classic radio collections. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please thank this radio station. Support their advertisers. That's the best thing you can do for this station. And tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.